The honourable member for Halifax Needham.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Lands and Forestry. While the minister sits on the Leahy report, irresponsible cuts are still happening in Crown forests. The most recent proposed cut of note is in Queens County, where there will likely be two-stage clear cuts just adjacent to the border of the Dunraven Bog, which is a wetland of international significance, according to the UN. Mr. Speaker, forests take a very long time to grow and very little time to cut down. So my question for the minister is, if he's so committed to ecological forestry, why can't the department shift practices now before more damage is done?
The Honourable Minister of Lands and Forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in that proposed harvest plan, there is a combination of some partial cuts and some clear cuts, as I said, and actually the Leahy report also says that in certain circumstances, clear cuts are the appropriate treatment after looking at the soil conditions and the vegetation types and the site conditions on the ground. Also has positive comments on our forest ecological classification system. But of course, we look forward to looking at the report in earnest and looking at the different science-based systems within the report and looking at the technical papers and the appendices and ensuring that we're incorporating all of those things to ensure that we're obviously looking at managing our forests to promote those mixed species multi-age. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Halifax Needham.
Mr. Speaker, this hardly seems like an appropriate location for plantation forestry on Crown land. The proposed cut poses real risks to the ecosystem, including depletion of already low soil nutrients, more soil acidification that will result in slower regeneration. And the cuts will also disrupt the connectivity of wildlife habitat, including for the mainland moose. The Leahy report clearly identified that the department should not allow clear cuts adjacent to lands like these. And it also found that the department's policies don't pay adequate attention to wildlife or soil quality. The proposed Queens County cut is another example of why we can't afford to delay changing our practices. So my question for the minister is, when will cuts like these be stopped?
The Honourable Minister of Lands and Forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And our integrated resource management team, which includes biologists, continue to look at the pre-treatment assessments proposed. These are proposed cuts, and to my knowledge, they don't abut against the protected land areas. The report did mention areas around where we can have setbacks around protected areas. We're fully engaged in that process, talking with our Crown license holders, but we also want to acknowledge that this timber will go to support sawmills across the province. It's an important industry and continues to be. It's a $2 billion industry for this province, for this government, and this party is committed to find that balance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.